Hi, everybody. My name is Shawn Phillips. I'm a health, nutrition, exercise, and holistic life coach. I've been practicing for the last 20 years, and today I wanted to cover everything you can possibly think of that comes to weight loss or fat loss or body sculpting. So I've created a 10-part series, and today is going to be the first part, and we're only going to talk about metabolism, how to rev your metabolism up. So to get you started on your weight loss journey, if any of you guys need help, feel free to reach out to me. All my credentials are right here at the bottom. You can reach out, email me, or text me. Okay, let's get started. So metabolism will be part one. There's going to be, I'll probably release part two, part three, maybe about once a week. So definitely check those out. So let's just start with some common beliefs that affect many people. They almost act as roadblocks. And so here's three common negative beliefs that affect people. The first one is I have a slow metabolism. I can't lose weight. The second is I'm lazy. I'm not good at following a health program. The third is I just don't have enough time or money to follow a program. So one of the things you have to understand is that it's not your fault. You can't know what you don't know. And as you follow a good holistic health program, as you feel better, you're going to have more energy to exercise, to be more social, to be more productive at work. So it all follows. But it's really important to note that we only get one body. And as we take care of that body, it takes care of us. So weight loss is the number one goal in America. So as you can see here in 2024, 3/4 of the population were considered overweight or obese, and 40% of the population are considered obese. So America is in a health crisis, and statistically, there's a strong correlation between being overweight or obese and chronic disease. So one of the things that we want to talk about today is how to prevent disease, how to stop suffering, how to feel better, and how to have more energy. So here's all the topics that we're going to be covering. Weight loss is the number one goal. Thyroid health, low-calorie diets and yo-yo dieting, counting calories, weight loss versus fat loss, strength training, gut health, sleep and stress, overeating, and lifestyle and overall healing. So thyroid health is a huge part of this process, whether someone speeds up their metabolism or slows down their metabolism. So here's a nice picture of the thyroid or the thyroid gland, which is right here, located where the neck is. The thyroid gland is a butterfly-shaped gland located just under the Adam's apple. And the neck, this gland produces hormones such as thyroid-stimulating hormones, TSH, that regulates the body's metabolic rate as well as many other functions. A typical range for TSH levels is between 0.4 and 4.0. If you're currently being treated for a thyroid disorder, the normal range is between 0.5 and 3.0. If your thyroid is functioning at its full potential, you will be burning calories more efficiently. So we will talk about things that help to speed up metabolism and thyroid health and some of the things that actually slow it down. Your thyroid is operating at too high of a rate. That's hyperthyroidism, where your thyroid is overactive. The opposite is true if your thyroid is functioning at too low of a frequency, which is called hypothyroidism. Okay, so let's get into some of the more common things that I see as a health practitioner. Yo-yo dieting, low-calorie diets. So for females, I've seen a lot of diets that'll do anywhere between 800 and 1,200 calories. And then maybe for guys, it'll be anywhere from like 1,600 calories to 2,000. And that can be far too low. The bigger the deficit or the caloric deficit, it doesn't mean it's going to be more effective. Not in the long run. In the short run, maybe, but not in the long run. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So big calorie deficits, not a good thing. You want to run kind of a much smaller calorie deficit. And then long-term low-carb diets. This is something that I've heard a lot of lectures of functional medical doctors or naturopath discussing. Not in the short term, but in the long term, like if you're doing keto or paleo or some kind of a low carb diet, it could start to affect your thyroid. It may even affect your testosterone. What people have done now, it's a pretty easy fix where they'll do cyclical keto or cyclical carbs with those types of diets. So that's a way to keep your thyroid optimized. The next is intermittent fasting. So I have a couple of stories about that. I had one guy at the gym that was working out and he just passed out. And he was doing intermittent fasting. He was working out really, really intense. The problem is he wasn't eating very much. And there's huge benefits to intermittent fasting. Concepts like autophagy and cleaning up cellular debris and repairing DNA, all those things are important. However, from what I've seen is that sometimes when people follow some type of intermittent fasting program, they end up chronically undereating. I had a buddy of mine that was intermittent fasting. He lost a lot of weight, but his testosterone started to drop, his energy was lower, and then he gained all the weight back. So intermittent fasting can act like a yo-yo diet because you're chronically not eating enough. So if you do want to intermittent fast, you need to eat the appropriate amount of calories. That's really important. And so the other one, undereat and over-exercise, like the show The Biggest Loser, that was kind of a scenario that was ran for many years where you had a lot of people. I actually worked with one of the contestants on that show where all, if not most of the contestants gained the weight back and then some. And it was a very, very, if you've seen the show, it was incredibly intense. But the calorie deficit was far too big. And the intentions of the people that put together the program, I'm sure were good, but weight is not nearly as important as fat loss and gaining muscle. And we'll talk more about that in a second. So one of the concepts that's really important for you to take away, you cannot starve out fat. You can only burn fat by speeding up your metabolism, by moving your body. The body will adapt to a starvation diet and eventually work against you in every way. It's all about optimization of lifestyle. And lifestyle would include sleep, exercise, nutrition, breathing, and stress management. We'll talk more about those 5 different things. So a little bit more on undereating and overexercising, because it's one of the most common exercise prescriptions that you see. And it can be the most damaging and also psychologically incredibly damaging because people can lose the weight in the short term, but then you fast forward 3, 4, 5 months later and they gain the weight back, but then they even gain more weight. So I don't mean to be picking on the show The Biggest Loser, because like I said, there were doctors and trainers on the show, all with good intentions, but the calorie deficit and the amount of exercise was just far too intense for the people or the contestants that were on the show. But this was reported in the New York Times that 13 of the 14 contestants studied regained weight in the 6 years after the competition. 4 contestants are heavier now than before the competition. It has to do with resting metabolism, which determines how many calories a person burns when at rest. When the show began, the contestants, though hugely overweight, had normal metabolism for their side, meaning they were burning a normal number of calories for people of their weight. When it ended, their metabolism had slowed radically and their bodies were not burning enough calories to maintain their thinner sizes. The contestants years later had significantly slower metabolism after the show, ranging from 200 calories slower up to 800 calories slower for some contestants. So the contestants put an enormous amount of effort into that program, and unfortunately their metabolism was far slower when they left. In a good holistic training program, you actually want to build metabolism. Weight is secondary. Primary is fat loss and gaining muscle. And again, we'll get to that in a second. So counting calories is not for everyone, but it's incredibly effective. You can see how much of a calorie deficit you're in, and you can be much more precise with your eating habits. So counting calories with an app can have a significant impact on how fast you lose fat and gain muscle. If you want to go faster, count calories. So the benefit is finding the ideal deficit, not too big, not too small. See what macros you're eating. Most eat very little protein. So macros are protein, fat, and carbs. And so having appropriate balanced macros have a huge impact on fat loss. And a lot of times when I get people to count their calories, what I see commonly is their fat and their carbs are way too high and their protein is too low. And actually those macros are a great way to gain weight. And that's even for healthy eaters, that's one of the common macro set that I see consistently. If you're trying to gain muscle, which is probably, of my clients, it's maybe only 10, 15% of the population. It's not as common, but it does happen. You want to create a calorie surplus. And then, as far as counting calories, it only takes about 8 minutes. It's quite easy with apps and whatnot. So it's not a huge time investment, and it's really great for accountability to kind of see where you're at. So I would definitely count calories. If you don't, I just have my clients utilize a template of healthy eating, and that can work too. So I do both depending on the person's needs and what their goals are. So strength training is another great way to build your metabolism. So let's just talk about some of the benefits of strength training. Strength training boosts metabolism by increasing lean muscle mass, which burns more calories at rest than fat, and also elevates metabolism after workouts. So that's the first thing. The second, increased muscle mass. Strength training helps build muscle, and muscle tissue is more metabolically active than fat tissue. Elevated resting metabolism, or elevated resting metabolic rate, a higher percentage of muscle mass means your body requires more energy when even at rest, boosting your RMR. The afterburn effect. Strength training can lead to an afterburn effect where your metabolism remains elevated for a period of time after your workouts. And then metabolic benefits beyond weight loss. Strength training can improve glucose metabolism, insulin sensitivity, and reduce visceral fat, which are important for overall metabolic health and can help prevent or manage conditions like type 2 diabetes. So if you have a high A1C score, strength training is phenomenal for bringing that number down. Even if you're on the borderline of type 2 diabetes, strength training should be a standard. Same thing with you're trying to lose body fat. Strength training is probably the top thing that I recommend for people to do. Okay, so this is a really important concept because when I work with my clients, it's not weight loss as a primary goal that we have. It's actually fat loss. Because some people, they'll lose weight, but they could lose 10 pounds of fat and lose 10 pounds of muscle and connective tissue and bone density. And that you do not want to do. That's why weight is not that important. I like looking at measurements. Measurements are great. So if you walk into a seamstress office, like a seamstress, and you're going to get a dress or, a suit, whatever, tailored, they don't ask for body fat percentage. They don't ask for, how much muscle mass you have. They don't ask what your body weight is. They look at your measurements. So measurements are everything. That's the way your body looks in clothes. That's the way your body looks, period. So, weight is secondary. Measurements are primary. And this is the whole example with the seamstress again, and it's really important because that's something I like to get across, because most people, when they lose weight, there's a lot of times that they actually lose muscle. So many, as they start a strict diet program, they can lose up to 50% muscle or more of their total results. And so I just get into kind of the idea that you got to be really careful. You actually want to build muscle as you're losing fat. I had a client that I worked with a while back, and he was probably 140 pound male. And his waist measurement was like a 37 around the belly button. After 5 months later, after working with him, his waist measurement was like a 32 and a half, and he was still 140 pounds. So he was gaining muscle and losing fat almost at the same rate. And he looked great playing flag football. He felt great. His performance at work and on the field were exceptional. Okay, so toning and shaping is the same as building muscle and losing fat. So in the world of fitness and exercise, you hear the word toning or shaping constantly. That's synonymous with losing fat and gaining muscle. So the best way to build muscle and lose fat, number one, I would always put weight training or strength training. Number two would be HIIT, high intensity interval training. Number three, steady state. Number four, walking. And then please note, the higher the intensity is not always better. If you're under a lot of stress, number one and number two, strength training and HIIT training, if it's too intense, it can completely burn you out. And I've seen people burn out with kickboxing classes and waking up early in the morning and doing some type of class that's far too intense given their stress levels. So you really need to find the right exercise program for you. So one of the myths that I hear quite a bit, and this is only with females, is that they're afraid they're going to get too big. And gaining muscle is incredibly difficult. And you want to build muscle because it's a way to raise your metabolic rate. The only time a female will so-called kind of get bulky is if they gain muscle. Let's say if they gain muscle, like 2 pounds of muscle in 8 weeks, but then they gain 4 pounds of fat. And the only reason why that would happen is because their nutrition program is not dialed in. But if they have a good nutrition program, they should be losing fat far more than they're building muscle, because it's actually easier to lose fat than build muscle. So that's a common myth. The easiest way to tone is by lifting weights and gaining muscle. It's not as easy as most people think. On average, a person may lose up to 8 pounds of fat in a month. And you could probably only gain maybe 1 to 2 pounds of muscle per month, depending on your size, male, female, etc. But it's not an easy process, but it's an important process. And the last thing, body fat is just a symptom. So if you have excess body fat, so you probably will say to yourself, oh, I'm overweight. Well, the way to think about it is you have some excess body fat. And then the question is, what are the root causes? And you always think about it in those terms because fat is just a symptom. It's from possibly not eating the right kind of calories or eating too many calories or not moving enough, etc. So we always want to go back to the root cause or root causes of why that body fat is there to begin with. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video so far and found it helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to join our growing community for more health tips. And if you think a friend or a family member could use a boost in their health journey, go ahead and share this video with them. Together, we can create a supportive network and make healthy living easier for everyone. So this is a really important topic, gut health and metabolism, and it's something that over the past 15 years has really become more and more popular, which is amazing. And essentially, we are more bacteria than we are human. We probably have up to 100 trillion bacterial cells in the body and only maybe 10 trillion human cells. And there's a lot of debate on if those numbers are actually accurate, but despite whether they are or not, it does show the importance of good gut health, which is the healthy bacteria. They're almost like worker bees. They're working for you. And they do all kinds of things. So let's get into those things. Good gut health seems to raise metabolism, improve brain function, lower inflammation. So let's talk about metabolism. So regulation of appetite and energy expenditure. Gut bacteria produces metabolites that signal to the brain and endocrine system, influencing appetite, energy expenditure, and overall metabolism. So what I think is happening with some of my clients that have poor gut health, they actually can increase their caloric intake because they're feeding bad bugs in their gut. And it's possible that there might be some feedback loop between the gut and the brain, that if you have too many bad bacteria or yeast or whatnot, they're actually causing you to overeat and gain weight. The next is the production of short-chain fatty acids. So there are different types of short-chain fatty acids, but essentially this promotes satiety, reducing inflammation, and improving insulin sensitivity. Breaking down of carbs. Gut bacteria breaks down carbs into short-chain fatty acids, which is utilized for the body for energy. Synthesis of vitamins and nutrients. People don't know this, but it's really interesting that you need certain bacteria in your gut to break down vitamins. So for example, this contributes to the synthesis of B12, K, vitamin K, which are important for metabolic processes, and hormone regulation. Gut bacteria can influence the production of hormones such as leptin and ghrelin, which play a huge role regulating appetite and metabolism. So let's get into the impact of the microbiome on metabolic health. So an imbalance in the gut microbiome is known as dysbiosis. Some doctors and scientists talk about you probably need 80 to 90% really healthy bacteria in the gut, and maybe only 10 to 20% of the stuff that's not that good. And that's kind of the balance that we're all shooting for, somewhere along those lines. And so if you do have dysbiosis, which is far too much bad bacteria and not enough good, obesity is one of the symptoms. So dysbiosis can increase the production of metabolites that promote weight gain and reduce energy expenditure. Type 2 diabetes is another one. Dysbiosis can impair insulin sensitivity and increase the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And the last one, metabolic syndrome. Dysbiosis can contribute to high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and increase inflammation, which are components of metabolic syndrome. Okay, so gut health. How do we attain really good gut health? And so here are different things that you can start to work into your lifestyle. Number one, eat more prebiotic fibers like root vegetables, veggies, fruit. Soluble fiber and root veggies, vegetables, and fruit are really important because they're prebiotic fibers that feed healthy bacteria. And then on the other hand, when you eat processed foods, when you eat sugar, when you eat white bread, those type of foods do the opposite. They feed the bad bacteria, or they feed candida or yeast. Number two, more diversity of foods are better. The average American eats about 10 to 12 of the same foods every single day. If you can have 30 or 40 different types of foods, fruits and vegetables and proteins, etc., you're going to have a healthier gut. Eat probiotic foods, kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, yogurt. Those are all really good because they have a diverse bacteria profile. Apple cider vinegar should be on here too. That's another one. Exercise, stress, sleep all affect the gut. They can either make it better or worse. Avoid chlorinated water. Non-organic food is the other thing. So as far as the organic label, it's as good as we got right now. It's not a perfect label, but trying to eliminate herbicides, pesticides, fungicides from your diet that's sprayed all over produce, it's a problem because it's going to affect your gut. So do the best you can, eat organic. Probably the best quality food of all foods is buying from a local farmer's market. And you can talk to your farmer or whoever the representative is there, and they can just tell you, if they use pesticides or whatnot. And that's a great way to support your local community, but it's also a way to make sure nothing damages the gut. So not only do we want to put some good stuff in, but we don't make sure that we're not putting bad stuff in as well. Take antibiotics only when necessary. So doctors are starting to change this, not only because of antibiotic resistance, but because it's damaging our gut health. So if it's an emergency, it's an ER situation, yes, taking antibiotics makes sense. But now doctors are a lot more conservative with antibiotics because it does affect gut health and it does affect your metabolism. Of course, it can cause you to gain weight. So these are things that you have to balance out and speak to your doctor about. Getting a pet. This is one of my favorite parts. It's crazy. I was listening to a lecture and one of these doctors was talking about how dogs or cats, they make you happy, not only because the emotional aspect, but also they change your microbiome because they're carrying a diverse set of bacteria that you're going to essentially absorb. It's pretty interesting. So when pets make you happier, that could actually be one of the reasons why, because your gut actually gets healthier. Okay, so we're going to switch gears as far as metabolism and talk about some other things that actually can disrupt it. Sleep and stress, overeating and disrupting metabolism. So one of the things that I notice is that if people have poor sleep, it's a quantity or quality issue. They have a tendency to eat junk food and their body just gets thrown off for whatever reason. So it's something that you should address within your own lifestyle. Stress is the same thing. Everybody's been there. Everybody's self-medicated, but it's something that you have to be aware of. And if you have a lot of stress in your life, you really need a good stress management program. A lot of times when I work with my clients, it's one of the first things I go through is what are their stressors? What can we do to basically get their body to become more relaxed? So is it breathing? Is it mind training? There's a particular type of mind techniques to help process negative emotions. Is it not eating frequently enough or not eating enough calories? So there are many things that can stress the body. It could be your boss. It could be anything. But they're important to address so that you can have a faster metabolism, you can feel better, and have the life that you've always desired. The next thing, so of course, sleep and stress can disrupt hormones and make healing slower, and it can weaken your immune system. Both affect your flow state at work or getting into the zone. The same is true in social settings. So I always think of like a good holistic lifestyle as a way to get into the zone or a way to achieve flow state. And the better you feel, the better your life is, the easier your life is. So flow state is almost like this bizarre, timeless state that, and they talk about in the zone with athletes, but people have it at work, or you could have it with a friend or with your daughter or your son. There's some kind of timeless state that when we're healthy, we just go right into it. And a big part of that is taking care of the physical body, making sure that all of your physical body's needs are really getting what it needs. So that's one thing that I really like to prioritize. And exercise is a way to channel anxiety, but be careful with anxiety. So if you're under a lot of stress, definitely movement helps, but it has to be the right kind of movement. Too much might be a problem, and too little might be a problem as well. So healing effects of different programs, metabolism, and more. We want to learn how to infuse energy into your life by prioritizing health in this order. This will speed up your metabolism, optimize your immune system, your cardiovascular system, your brain, gut, and musculoskeletal system. So number 1 through 4 is your restoration phase, and number 5 is stimulation phase. So when working with clients, I spend a lot of time on 1 through 4 to make sure that that's dialed in, because that sets them up for number 5, which is exercise. So sleep, quantity and quality, breathing, to make sure a lot of people, they don't breathe properly. They breathe with their chest and they breathe incredibly fast. If you're watching this, take 3 deep breaths and kind of calm you down, and it's so much easier to focus. Nutrition, quantity and quality. There's a lot that goes into a good nutrition program. Stress, we talked about that. And then the right type of exercise. So more is not better, better is better. And again, if you're not sleeping well and you're not your stress level is too high, exercise is not going to be a good fit for you if it's high intensity. So it has to be the right intensity, and then you have to work on some of the restoration phase to make sure that you're feeling good to exercise more intense. So this is more philosophical, but I believe energy is the currency of life, not money. So this would be your new philosophy. So energy is the currency of life. And what do I mean when I say that? The more energy you have, the more money you make, this kind of flow state or timelessness. The more energy you have, the better your social and family life is, more service to others type of life theme. The more energy you have, the stronger your immune, hormonal, neurotransmitter system. So it's almost like having superpowers. You just feel great. The more energy you have, the more productive you are, or like in the zone. The more energy you have, the leaner and fitter you are. So body sculpting or toning or shaping, it's not that hard when you're feeling great. And of course, the more energy you have, the more life experience you have. So that's kind of that bliss or joy. So master your body, master your energy. So it's a philosophy. Quick fixes and magic bullets. So in my industry, or in the health industry, there's a lot of quick fixes and magic bullets and the common words that'll be used are like quick, fast, easy. And when it comes to taking care of your body, it's one of those things that anything you've done in your life that's worth doing has been hard. And unfortunately, in my industry, in order to make certain types of sales, those type of concepts of fast and easy and quick are really pushed, whether it's a supplement or, I don't know, some type of device or some type of program. And I feel that it's important to take on the concept that it's definitely can be hard, but so worth doing. And once you do it, you'll feel amazing about yourself. The sense of accomplishment, the sense of pride that you lost body fat, you gained muscle, you feel better, you're more productive. And it's almost like the movie Limitless. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's one of my favorite movies. But it's almost like he had a limitless ability to do what he wanted to do in his life. And I feel that with a good lifestyle within your own life, you can do that too. So I would just be cautious when you hear those buzzwords, because that's a way for, unfortunately, people to sell certain products, services, or devices that I feel they're disingenuous, and in the long run, they're not going to be helpful for you. So just wrap your mind about it that yes, it takes some hard work, but once you get into your groove, it gets easier and easier. And I think being honest, being accountable and transparent as a practitioner, I always like to let people know ahead of time so that they know what they're getting involved with, and then they can slowly build. They build their health, they build their life, and they feel better. So yeah, it builds confidence, self-esteem, wonderful feeling of accomplishment in life. You want to both work smart and work hard. So as a health practitioner, I'm definitely a strategist, looking at the big picture, looking at weak links in your lifestyle, looking at your strengths, looking at your goals, your needs, and then making adjustments to your overall program. So it's a combination of working smart and then just putting in the time and working hard. But the benefits are just immense. Metabolic factors. So these are all the different things that we talked about: thyroid, muscle mass, exercise, gut health, sleep, breathing properly, proper calorie intake, nutrition. I was going to prioritize from 1 through 7 on this list, but I stopped because everything is so integrated. All the systems, we have so many specialists, medical specialists that focus on the health or focus on the brain, but the body is incredibly complex, and all the systems and all the organs and cells are all connected. And so when I was looking at this list, I was like, I couldn't even prioritize where to start as far as what is the most important, because they all have importance and they all carry over and they all create synergy. So the idea of synergy is like 1 + 1 is 5, or 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is 10. So essentially what that means is when you're doing a variety of different lifestyle factors, they have this synergistic effect as they work well together, providing you with the energy, the life, the feeling, the fitness that you've always wanted. So there's a synergistic effect of all these metabolic factors. Okay, that's everything. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. And again, my information's down below if you want to reach out to me. And have a great day.
Hey there, health seekers. Ready to transform your body and feel great? Join our online holistic health coaching program today. We offer personalized nutrition plans to enhance your well-being, easy tracking to keep you on the right path, discover the power of medicinal foods for effective weight loss, tailored workouts for toning and shaping, motivational strategies to conquer any challenge, and so much more. Start your journey to a healthier you at ShawnPhillipstraining.com. Let's do this together.